I dreamt that I lay amongst ivy and beech beside a lake, lifting handfuls of sand with my right hand and releasing them across the back of my left. Like memories from childhood to now, the sand flows over my skin and leaves no trace. Some grains remain behind in the cuticles of my nails, in the indentation of wrinkles and scars. Those memories that remain with us, never to leave, until I slip soundlessly into the water, the cool, relieving darkness. No longer will my skin hold those grains of sand, those memories lost. I wish I had wasted less time on others, spent more time on myself, doing what I wanted to do and acting how I wanted to act, casting aside the disapproving and critical. I wish I had pursued lovers foolishly lost and cast aside friendships that are knowingly poisoned. When I married in early December, that was for love. My beloved old bachelor. I managed to tame his wild habits, and our short union was a pure and peaceful time. A construction worker from birth to death, obsessed with the Giza pyramid complex and the ties to those in Mexico or somewhat somewhere. The ghosts that built these pyramids, he'd say, did so knowing their fate. They conversed through time and space. They knew it was all downhill from there. The surface of those great structures wouldn't stay smooth forever. The construction may last, but those who build it cannot. And when his time came, coughing out the lining of his lungs into those shattered, shaking hands, he asked me to remember fondly what he had built. Not the frames and structures he'd slaved upon, but the life and love we built together. He was a good man. However, his relentless longings had pursued him as he had pursued them as vices in his youth. How terrible a thing it is to love something that death can touch. I was grateful to have been able to spend those limited years together, his last, but not mine. Peter the Great conversed from atop his horse with the great god Odin. A fresh wound adorned the latter's face where his right eye once sat in its socket. Odin was explaining to the Tsar where its removal was quite necessary. They spoke low and soft, just out of earshot. "Emperor, I apologize," Odin breathed out as I closed on the men. I could feel the growth of nervous sweat on my brow and elsewhere across my body. I was naked and once again I was young. The beads of moisture traced and clung to my every curve as if they never wanted to let go. Once close enough, I asked how they'd feel about welcoming one as strong as and intelligent as themselves. They thought I was talking about my own self, good heavens, and greeted me in towards them with warm words and open arms. I explained I meant my husband, and they declined. My youth vanished, my body morphed. Embarrassed, I turned. Aglow with an archaic flush, the reddened cheeks so associated with the open-air toil of the proletariat. Ubisant, where are they now? Where am I? I come around in my hometown, a nightmare I sometimes miss. William Gull was Jack the Ripper. Good doctor, it is the human being that is your patient, not the illness. Being against evil does not make you good. God, good God. The imprint of fingernails deep in skin, tendons and veins displaced from side to side. During my spiritual assessment at the age of 9, I was introduced to my totem animal, an anthropomorphic wolf, whose sign by means of a name was Baldo. From this moment, Balder has appeared at each and every moment of significance in my life, along with some of lesser significance, or so I perceived them. Perhaps wrongly. The horses canter across the smoke, large and unforgiving, the riders in the guise of men, a woman and a beast. If we had any true understanding and appreciation for how short our lives are, we would live in an altogether different manner. We would love in a different way, and our hearts would grow wise and treasure much. What precious time is there for emotions birthed in negativity? My parents were not my parents, inasmuch as the fact that I was adopted by them as a young child. That is, they were not my birth parents. They were better. They frequented a time and a space around me until a train from Aberdeen to London derailed in Morpeth, and they were 2 of the 9 fatalities. I sat and watched, 11 years old, as the news report on the television informed me before anyone made it official. As the news reporter numbered the dead and the helicopter photograph of a train lying smoking beside its track, like the shed skin of a deformed snake, appeared before me, Balder, sitting on a Chesterfield sofa across, nodding solemnly, the old upholstery, red wine, comfy, familiar. He was dressed in a black suit of mourning, his matching pitch-black marble eyes as moist as the nose on the end of his snout that hung low in sorrow. In the hospital waiting room, or police station reception, or social services office, wherever it was, they first informed me of my parents' death, and then proceeded to inform me that I was adopted in distastefully quick succession. I was provided the information on my birth mother and my birth father, and when asked if I had the desire to seek them out when the time was right, I replied yes. I never did open that envelope. I can't even recall where I eventually misplaced it. On losing these figures in my life, I felt as though if I was to relax, my body would melt away and there would be nothing left of me. Like my skin would slip through the gaps in reality and nothing of what is supposed to be inside of me would remain. That's how empty I felt. Throughout, however, Balder was by my side. Sometimes he would place a misshapen paw on my shoulder or my lower back, a show of support I could gratefully feel from deep within, considerably deeper than the touch that had weighed on my skin. My formative relationship with Rosa Mizutani began in my early teens. Through Rosa, I was introduced to friendship, constant companionship, and our shared exploration into sexuality. We knew nothing of desire, but would role-play the situations our bodies would in later years pursue. In undressing each other and performing the duties of doctors and nurses, we would spark in each other the light-kindling flame of what would later become, for Rosa, her preference for the same sex, and for myself, my aspiration to go into nursing as a profession. In a way, we prepared each other for all that would come in our lives: love and romance, dedication to another, and above all, a commitment to ourselves. Making a pact to live only as we ourselves dictated, absolute and with no compromise. In a way that Balder could not direct me across this astral plane, Rosa set before me a path, and with the light arousal of her virginal touch, prepared me for what in the very near future I would gravitate towards. Not the search for acceptance within another, but for the use and appreciation of what they could give to me. Catherine Hepburn dressed as Marianne, liberty leading the people over the fallen, lèse-majesté. The monarchy never did anything for me, and I can't yet see through the fog. Alas, once it is cleared and the stars and the moon shine through from the night, I shall know by this sight. This pain and suffering is not something a person need struggle and suffer with alone. Read Dostoevsky and realize the same thing happened to him 100 years before. Go back further. Through art you are no longer alone. You share everything with the past as you do with the future. That's some James Baldwin, I think. Something like that. Something more acutely put. Balder glared at me from behind a glass of beer as a man sat down beside me and stole my attention away from the works of Anais Nin. He would be the love of my life. That was almost certainly Eros, drunk on cheap liquor, opportunity, and his own cocksure lyre strumming. An insane and chaotically beautiful love affair that would last for no longer than 2 years. The memory drips back behind my eyes, that hot passion leaking across the brain cells. He had burning red hair and a strong natural frame which required little to no exercise to maintain. He sent me lustful letters from Zurich, where he was studying photography, drenched in love and desire of the rawest form. How I longed to pin you up against the wall like the masterpiece that you are. When you left my life for good on a crowded train platform, striking me down with this indefinable melody, I saw Balder's face amidst the crowd. The son of a bitch smiled and winked at me. Perhaps he knew what I could not, where this love would lead, or rather where it would not. What this man could offer and what he could not. And still this gratuitous smugness left a bitter stain, and still this thick, apathetic torpor rendered me useless for some time. I was subject to nothing internal save a collection of nightmares that could rival the visions of Hieronymus Bosch. We lived in decadence and excess on the Isle of Hydra, a theatre of dreams, a community of colourful, poetic ideas amidst the white of the stone walls and the rock and the sand and the vines that gleamed up from the buildings, as pale and as naked in the sun as the bodies of the young and beautiful, the old and knowledgeable, the summer lovers, touched with trust and honesty, desire and lust. They painted where they were and where they had come from, what they had and what they missed. No one knew who they were yet, and so no one asked. No one understood each other's individual journey. They didn't need to, it wasn't theirs. In the darkness of the nights, when you stood alone at the shore and stared out across the black sea and the black sky, you simply could not imagine where light came from. Then you turn around and realize the brightness of a million candles has got your back. On the day I was interred here, in this establishment, a sky of perfect indigo and violet was painted across my room's solitary window. It held its healthy colour long past dusk. Long after I'd cried out my last tear I could summon onto Balder's comforting shoulder. "I've never been here to tame the darkness," he whispered, "but merely to live it with you." When the pandemic came, I worked as a frontline carer amongst the afflicted within a refugee camp. We received no equipment, no supplies, no support, help, no protection. I said goodbye to many whose loved ones could not be present for their final whispers. Disillusioned and riddled with the plague I was fighting against, I turned to substance abuse. They blame my current state upon this alone. This is simply untrue, unfair. My trauma stems from what I witnessed, the lies I was told, the lies I was told to believe, the lies I was told to tell, as a dying woman, the lies I was told to sell. The taste of a dream that lingered on my tongue, the familiarities that filled my mouth, the taste of the lie I had to let out. I never dream about the truth. I cannot comprehend in my mind. My mind has such a complex time comprehending itself, for it cannot understand itself without itself. I kept no museum of memories locked up in there. Had I done that, I would still be haunted by them today. Abstract poetry I scrawled across the back of some tablet packaging. The verses becoming clearer, line by line, with each one swallowed pill by pill. I've dined with Rilke, Woolf, Ballard and Sylvia, mixed morphine with the pleasure in the company of Hermann Hesse, Bulgakov and Falda. I've drank coffee with Patti Smith and Bill Burroughs, absinthe with Verlaine and Rimbaud, daiquiris with Hemingway, vodka with Benedict Yerevan, and beer at its cheapest with Henry and York Fowler. Reality is subject to the individual mind. People don't use their imaginations enough anymore. What happened? Never mind. I see Baldo waiting for me in bed. Nevermore.